So what are you going to do with your salary? Are you going to keep it on a bank, knowing that you lose your money, or you're going to invest it into real estate, earn capital appreciation, earn rental income, but at the same time being able to make it so liquid that you can get funds out of that property immediately via the payment card? Hey Andrew, how you doing?
Cool. Good, man. How are you?
Yeah, good. Can't complain. Extremely busy
Yeah, I know.
because we got a launch upcoming. Yesterday we sold out our first property, which is pretty exciting. So yeah, busy times. Busy times. How are you?
Yeah. Good. From my end, it's just price, keeping up with everything. The Trump one was a wrench thrown, and I was like, "Whoa, I didn't see that coming." So now I'm just
Yeah,
processing. I'm just processing it all because I think it was actually a good move, to be honest. Um, but yes, so today, uh, I think we'll be speaking about how to tokenize property and about EstateX. So to start off with, maybe could you tell me a little bit about yourself and how you started with the EstateX and how you got to this position, basically?
yeah, no, absolutely. So if we look at the origin story of EstateX, is we started out almost 4.5 years ago, where we have put all the necessary foundations in place. Obviously, because we're dealing with securities and we're dealing with selling fractionalized investments to retail investors. So there needs to be a clear legal framework in place. We have been able to put a complete end-to-end regulated ecosystem in place in Europe. And we're also legally compliant in the United States to sell to retail investors and to institutional investors. We've come pretty far, obviously, so far. The co-founder of USDT has invested. We've received grants from Microsoft, from Google. We sold out our first property yesterday within 5 minutes, which is pretty amazing. Yeah, 4.5 years ago, me and my business partner, we were already entrepreneurs. We were already into the crypto market, and we just saw um, a huge housing shortage problem in the Netherlands, which is my home country, where people are, on average, a 30-year-old there can't even get on the property market, can't even start their life, move out of their house, let alone being able to invest into a property. And being really fascinated and saw the 2017 ICO craze. I don't know if you remember that,
Uh, I
but
got
there
scammed in
were
that.
lots of projects there.
I got scammed in
Um,
that.
yeah. Also tokenized real estate projects, and they all failed. So we just linked property towards the blockchain, came with tokenization, saw the developments there, and not only build an investment platform, but we were thinking, okay, what does an investor actually want besides the option to invest in, which is obviously liquidity, cash out options, instant loans for leveraging. We came up with a payment card solutions where you can actually make your assets so liquid that you can do your groceries with it. So we just came up with a whole all-in-one inclusive ecosystem that is much more than just an investment platform, but it's just an all-in-one financing management app where you can arrange everything around your investment and your finances. So investing in a couple of minutes, selling within a couple of minutes, trading marketplaces, payment cards to make your assets so liquid that you can do your groceries with your investment, giving a hedge against inflation, loans for leveraging, education, and much more. So that's how EstateX started and where we are now.
Very, very interesting and well done for that. Only in 4 years to get that type
Thank
of
you.
acknowledgement. That's good. That's really good. Um, but can you break it down even more for me? Like fundamentally, what is it? What is tokenizing property on the blockchain? And is Estate X a blockchain?
Yeah, it's a very good question. So, first of all, if you look at what is tokenization, tokenization is not necessarily the same thing as fractionalization. People mistake those two often. Obviously, fractionalization, the idea of fractionalizing a property is not necessarily new. But what the blockchain brings is so much more than just fractionalization. Obviously, it opens up fractionalization, but it also has major benefits, for example, compared to REITs, where you could speak of fractionalization, such as being able to select and build your own portfolio, so you're your own decision maker instead of a fund manager doing that for you. The payouts are on a daily basis, so we stimulate cash flow for our investors instead of a monthly basis or quarterly or semi-annually. Obviously, the liquidity possibilities are very high. You're able to trade just a part of an asset or your tokens to other investors or cash out immediately. We came up with an ecosystem where you also have loans, so you can get instant access to finance for leveraging possibilities. And if you look at what tokenization brings compared to just fractionalization, it's actually so much more. Obviously, if you think about what the blockchain brings, it's obviously transparency online, everything can be checked. There are way more high liquidity possibilities with the easy transfer of ownership. So it's not pooling money, but it's actually the transfer of your fractional ownership of a property. So you really own a piece of a part of a property that you can easily, yes.
So I can have a house in a country and I can go on EstateX and I can tokenize it somehow. And I can sell 5% of it to a guy who lives in another country. Is that what you're
Yeah,
saying?
yeah, so basically, in essence, obviously, if it wants to be offered on the EstateX platform, it would go through a vetting process, and we obviously need to see if the deal flow is right and see if this
It's
makes sense
true.
for our investors. But in general, we provide tokenization as a service where we actually offer property owners the possibility to get their assets tokenized. And when it's actually tokenized, investors can now sell a part of their asset instead of needing to sell the entirety. Let's say you want some cash flow out of your property, or you want some money for renovations to increase property value. Then those are all possibilities with EstateX. So yes, you can come to us. We provide tokenization as a service, and if the deal flow makes sense, we can also offer it on a platform to our investors. To come back on your blockchain question, we are actually in the developing stages of creating our own blockchain, which is set to release in Q4,
And you are
where for
working with
institutions,
as a layer one?
sorry,
Layer one,
yeah, it's going to be yes, it's a layer one blockchain,
which one?
and it's going to be an EVM compatible chain. It's going to have a poly architecture. My CTO is way better at explaining this, but in essence, what it does is you're going to have different sets of L1 chains for different types of asset classes, and then you would have a layer 0 chain to unify all those different types of L1s for the different asset classes. So it means that you have an L1 chain for real estate, an L1 chain for sports teams, which we're in talk with, to tokenize that equity, an L1 chain for gold, for example, and that will all be unified by the layer 1 layer 0 settlement chain. And every layer 1 chain would have its unique components compared to the asset class that it's meant for. So that is the idea of the blockchain behind it. And it's set to release in Q4. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can still hear you.
Okay, your screen was freezing. Yeah, so yeah, that's the idea for the blockchain, set to release in Q4. Our payment utility token will also be the gas fee of that token, the native token of that chain. We're already onboarding institutions, so we have a major flagship client already that is willing to commit hundreds of millions of dollars to tokenize on that blockchain. And obviously, ESX holders will profit off of all the movements, etc., etc. So
And
we basically create.
competition. You guys, what competition do you see in this space?
Yeah, I mean, there are some competitors in the sense of there are other investment platforms that do this. Look at, for example, a Realty or a Red Swan, or a Bricken or a prop chain. But I think what makes us very, very unique is the complete ecosystem that we have. So what we're creating is not only an investment platform, but like I said, we're creating like this all-in-one financing management app, where on the one hand, you can invest within a couple of minutes, but you have so much more flexibility and liquidity with instant cash out options, being able to pay with your real estate investment. So we actually make an asset class that is so illiquid as long as its existence. We make that so liquid that you can actually do your groceries with it. And this is really a hedge against
Could you
inflation.
give an
Nothing,
example? Could you give an example of that?
absolutely. So obviously, as you know, it's a public secret that if you keep your money on the bank, you lose money, right? Due to inflation, due to the extremely low interest rates. But with EstateX, you can now invest into real estate, invest within a couple of minutes, earn rental income, which is a hedge against inflation, earn potential capital appreciation. But as you know, the main issue is that you can't get funds easily out of your property. But with EstateX and with EstateX Pay, we actually give out EstateX branded payment cards facilitated by a liquidity provider where you can actually pay with your real estate investments. So we actually make that asset class that is illiquid as long as existence so liquid that you can now do your groceries with it. So what are you going to do with your salary? Are you going to keep it on a bank knowing that you lose your money, or you're going to invest it into real estate, earn capital appreciation, earn rental income, but at the same time being able to make it so liquid that you can get funds out of that property immediately via the payment card.
So it's very similar to a REIT. It's very similar to a REIT because
No,
a REIT
it's
does pay out like 6/7 or 5/7 of all the total rent collected as a yield to its owner, something like that.
Yeah, it's very different. It's similar in the sense of there's an investment option. But what I'm saying is that there is so much more to the ecosystem than just, okay, I enter REIT, I give the funds to my property manager, and I hope to get a payout on a quarterly basis or a monthly
Agreed. It's
basis.
like the next level REIT.
It's like an involvement of a REIT where you have the freedom to select your own portfolio, get rental payments on a daily basis, so it's more cash flow positive. You can make your own decisions when you want to get out, what you want to invest in immediately. You can trade your tokens with other investors. You can get loans to leverage your portfolio without using your own money. So you're using what they call good debt, like the rich do, to leverage their portfolio, to build out more generational wealth, to increase more passive income. And at the same time, via our payment cards, you're actually able to swipe those same investments. So it's very different from a REIT. A REIT doesn't have all those functions, but it's similar in the sense of, yes, there's an investment opportunity there.
How interesting. And so you've been doing this for 4 years, and now let's say someone wants to go and buy a piece of tokenized property. Where can they go to find, let's say, the properties available to be bought?
So yesterday we had our first property offering that went live. It sold out within 5 minutes. You can go to platform.estatex.eu where we sold our first property offering yesterday. We will launch our new property offering in February. Then also in February you have the opportunity to for European retail investors. So we're opening up the market for European retail investors as well, and institutional investors. So platform.estatex.eu is where we held the first property sale yesterday, and where new property sales will follow.
What kind of property was it? This is all very new to me, so I don't really know much about this part of
No
tokenized
worries.
assets.
That's all good. So yesterday we launched with our partner Remax. We launched a TUI Blue Beach holiday resort. I don't know if you know TUI. It's one of the biggest holiday companies in
Yes,
Europe.
no,
Yeah, so it's on the a beach resort in Cape Verde, which is a very popular tourist destination. We tokenized a holiday unit there where we have 7% net income paid upfront by the developer. So it's paid upfront for 3 years. This is put into a smart contract on the blockchain, so it's visible for everyone, and there's a lot of transparency there. We've been able to sell it with a 10% discount, evaluated at 150,000 euros. We sold it for 135 US dollars. So investors also have a 10% discount on the property, plus the 7% guaranteed yield, which is put into a smart contract. So it was a very interesting investment opportunity, very exclusive deal that we were able to get. And yeah, we're very pleased to be able to offer that.
And now what? You have more properties going up for sale. You have more people requesting to put their properties on X Estate. How is that working? Estate X, sorry. How is that?
Yeah. So the supply of real estate is not the issue here at all. We have lots of offers from big portfolios, from individual homeowners. The CEO of Remax last week came on board as a board member of EstateX. So he's actually part of the team now.
Cool.
And he is actually sourcing the most exclusive deals for us, so he can offer us opportunities that otherwise wouldn't be available for the general public because of his connections, because of his reputation, such as the deal here that we had with 10% discount, 7% guaranteed income. And he's already sourcing the next opportunity, which will be similar, probably with a discount, probably with rental income paid up front. So already sourcing the next exclusive opportunity.
So people can go in and they can just choose. This is what I'm trying to understand. People can just go in on EstateX and there'll be a number of properties, and you can go in and you can buy 10,000 worth of this property. You receive the token, you can have that token in a wallet that connects to your card, which you can go spend money at the grocery, which makes it highly liquid. And you're also receiving a yield from the rental income that the property is making every month, but you get paid on a daily basis.
Yes, correct. You've summarized it all correct. That's how it works.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So let's say, for example, I have a piece of land, okay, and it's really nice, and I want to tokenize it. You can just go through the process of contacting EstateX. EstateX will see if your offering is real and if it's true and if it's this and if it's that. And then let's say if you develop the land into, let's say, a revenue generating asset, you can actually pay people abroad profits and in return they will give you money to, let's say, buy the stuff you need to develop the land into, let's say, a business, and it can keep on working like this. So they front
Yes.
you the capital, you take that capital, you can turn it into the land into a business, and then you give it back to them in the form of rent. And who's the
Yeah.
middleman making sure everything gets done, I would assume then here?
Yeah, exactly. So there are different types of offerings that are possible on the EstateX platform. What we chose with the first one is definitely already an revenue generating asset. So investors will profit off that immediately, and obviously because of the marketing, it's a great image and blah blah blah. So we decided to go with a already revenue generating asset. But in principle, yes, it's right. We're also going to offer development. We're working on off plans in Dubai, for example, which have amazing returns nowadays. So yes, you can indeed go through the vetting process, see if it makes sense. We put our legal team together and see what the cost indications are and the transfer of ownership and all those things. And then yes, you're able to offer it on the EstateX platform, raise funds. Then with those funds raised, you're able to develop there something, so a business or something like that. Obviously, there needs to be a plan beforehand ready, what you're going to do with the land, etc., what are the expected incomes, durations, and then people will own either part of an equity, or you can do it in a loan type of form where you get paid back once the development is there and the development gets sold, for example. Those are all possibilities that we can discuss with the potential interested client that wants to offer on the platform. And then people can buy into that offering either via a loan structure or via an equity structure. And if it's the equity structure, once the development is ready, they will earn a piece of the income. Or you can decide to flip it. So you have a part of a land, you build a development there, you flip it, and investors make a profit. So there are lots of possibilities here.
Oh, good. So let's say I don't own a piece of land now, and I would like to, but I don't want the hassle of doing it. I can go to Estate X. I can, let's say, put up a deposit into something with Estate X that's will pay me out yield, you're saying, straight away, as in once you own it, you're entitled to it straight away. You don't have to wait for a month or 3 months or 6 months. So now I'm getting income, which I can just basically pay my rent over here where I live. It's cool.
Yeah,
Because
yeah, exactly.
you don't get that kind of stuff holding, let's say, Bitcoin. I mean, you get the capital appreciation, you get the security, you get the safety. We don't know EstateX is going to be here, no, in 10, 20 years time. So like, how do you mitigate against that? Or do you?
Yeah, I mean, so there are the offerings that we do are usually not owned by EstateX, but usually owned by a third party. How it works is we work with a regulated registrar in Germany, which is basically a regulated company that creates the security token sets. And because they're a licensed registrar, they are regulated and they have the permission basically to transfer or to store the actual ownership of that asset into the smart contract and into your security token. So once you receive a security token, EstateX is just basically the middleman facilitator, and could also be an administrator in the vehicle that owns the offering, for example. So EstateX is the party that makes sure it all goes right. But if anything happens to EstateX and we wouldn't be around in 10 years anymore, you can always go to the registrar or to the regulator, show your security token, and then the ownership is registered into that security token, proving it's your ownership within that security token if you hold it.
So you can go to the government and you can go to a notary and you can say, listen, I own this piece of land via this blockchain company, and it's all true.
It's all
And
true.
the
It's all
notary,
registered in a smart contract, all visible on the blockchain,
how
all
large is the
registered
team?
with
How
official
large is your team?
paperwork in
How
a
large is your
company
team
that's regulated. It's all done very, very,
professionally?
very legal safe. Yeah,
Yeah,
very
so
professional.
so how large is your team and how do you address legal and regulatory challenges?
Yeah, so it's a
Because I'm
good
sure
question.
there are a few there.
Yeah, it's one of the things why we took a long time to develop this. Obviously, is because you need to have the legal framework in place. We see so many companies just raising money and then trying to find out the legalities after, and then realize it doesn't work like that at all. And it's a very regulated field that you're in, right? Because you're selling financial services to retail investors. It's very strictly regulated. So you need to make sure that that is all in place and that it's all well said and done. So our team is pretty extensive. We have a management now of 9 people. We have 4 entities in the United States, Netherlands, Luxembourg, and Germany. For those entities, we all have directors. So we have a German director who's a former banking executive who got banking license from the German financial supervisor with his own crypto bank, who served more than 200 institutions. In Luxembourg, we have former C-level executives. They can all be found on the site, estatex.eu/company. And for those different entities, they take up a different part of the regulatory framework. They're all managed by professionals who've done this before. And if we look at the regulatory framework, what we have and what we've built via regulated partners and ourselves is within our ecosystem, we have an end-to-end regulated ecosystem. So from the moment your funds are onboarded to the signing up via the highest level of KYC AML screening, to the trading on the secondary marketplace, to the offering structure, it's all regulated. And we work with a crowdfunding license for offerings up to 5 million euros. We work with a liability umbrella and a so-called Haftungsdag, which is in Germany just a financial regulation for offerings above 5 million euros. To be able to passport that all over Europe. Then we work with a regulated registrar, like I said, for the creation of the security tokens. We work with a custodian that keeps your tokens safe. So trading between investors on the platform always happens in the environment of a regulated custodian. So all the tokens are stored and kept safe in a regulated environment as well. So they cannot be lost, they cannot be stolen, they cannot be hacked. So your tokens are always kept safe there. And we work with a broker's license via liability umbrella to be able to operate the secondary marketplace. Then in the United States, we work with FINRA regulated companies, so we can do offerings under Reg A, Reg D, Reg CF to target institutional, accredited, and retail clients. So we boast quite a significant regulatory framework for the transparency and safekeeping of our investors' investments.
Very interesting. And are you in multiple countries at the moment or still growing?
Yeah, so the beautiful thing about Europe is about the EEA is that if you have a license or regulated partner in one of the countries, you can passport that all over the EEA. So you can basically offer your financial services over the complete European economical area. So the whole Europe would be the starting market. Then the United States is also one of our starting markets. So yesterday our first offering was for US investors. So we have the US market and the European market. We got that covered with a regulatory framework, and then we're currently looking at expanding to the Middle East as well. So that will be then the next step, and then after that will be Asia. But first, we want to roll it out successfully in the United States and Europe and show the proof of concept there.
And the property that you are tokenizing is mainly houses that families use or live in, or are they commercial buildings or anything of that sort?
Yeah, so the one we launched yesterday was a holiday unit. So on a very popular beach resort, because the occupancy rate is there great. There are possibilities for high returns. Obviously, we got the guaranteed yield for that. So yeah, we're looking at diverse options. We're looking at just normal regular homes with long-term contracts. We also want to offer short-term rental income contracts, so Airbnb properties, for example. We just want to offer people a diverse choice of portfolio. So whether that be commercial, whether that be holiday
Doesn't
units, whether that be normal
doesn't matter.
residential real estate, as long as the numbers are right and the legalities are right, we want to give people the opportunity to let them decide themselves how they want to build their portfolio.
So let's say there's a situation, okay, where somebody has purchased a property and he wants or she wants to tokenize it. Now, no one around them has tokenized property before. They go to one person and they say, I'm going to tokenize my property. That person is going to say, you're going to do what?
Yeah.
Like, you're going to do what? So at the stage that we are in, do you suggest people should tokenize their house just for the sake of it, so that if they leave it on this estate X, they might actually have someone buy a piece of their house, but they get to live in it anyway,
Um,
just for the
yeah.
sake of
Well,
doing it. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Just for the sake of doing it, because then you can make money just for buying a property, and then you can sell it, tokenize it, sell a piece of it, and now you have made 20% of your property because you sold 20% of it on the market, let's say. And
Yeah.
now that is, let's say, appreciating in value. I don't know.
Yeah. Um, yeah, well, what I always say is it really depends on what your financial goals are. If you're in immediate need of cash flow, then tokenization is definitely a viable option that you can look at without the need to sell in its entirety. But it also has to make sense financially, right? Because there are obviously costs involved, and there's a transfer of ownership probably that needs to be done. So it really depends, I think, on their individual situation, if it makes sense or not. I will say that I think the possibilities with tokenization are endless. And I think there are, for some people that are looking for, if you look at let's say you're a house flipper and you're looking at some sort of way to be able to free up budget without the need of a very expensive loan or something like that, for example, for renovation to be able to flip your property through. I think tokenization is a very, very beneficial option, or for property
Renovation, you
portfolio
say?
owners. Yeah, renovation, for
That's
example.
an amazing one, huh?
What you could do is you could sell 10% of your property, use that freed up budget for renovation to increase the property price, and then flip it through. Those are the possibilities that you have. I do have to say it needs to make sense financially and with your goals for the property owner. So if you still live in it and you don't have a lot of money, and then maybe it's not the best option for you at that stage. So it really depends on the individual situation. It's hard to say like a general
Okay,
type of thing.
okay. So I understand that's a really good one. So let's say I bought a really old a house and I want to turn it into a boutique hotel, essentially. It needs a lot of work. You need a lot of renovations. But let's downsize the example. It's just a villa. I want to make a house and it needs works inside the house. Okay, so I'm gonna tokenize it. I'm gonna sell off 10%, make 10% to do the renovations or 15% to do the renovations. Okay, so that's a good incentive for me because now I get the renovations. I get to live inside that house. But why did someone just, or why did 500 people just offer to buy 10% of my place so that I can make these renovations? What's the incentive for them?
Yeah, so the incentive for them would obviously
Because there's no rental income going out as such because I live there. You know what
yeah.
I
Yeah, so if you would live there, it has to make sense financially, right? So if you would live there, you would either think, okay, we're gonna renovate and then flip it through. But if that's not your goal, you want to live there, you're gonna have to pay 10% rent, probably about
You're
the
gonna have to
amount
pay
that you not
10%
own
rent.
anymore, right? So there's always a financial trade-off that you would make in the sense of that. But if it makes sense for you financially for your goals, then it's definitely something worth considering, and there are a lot of possibilities with it that are very interesting and could be flexible for you. But obviously, no one is going to give something for free. Obviously, that's not how the world works.
Exactly.
So there will always be something that you have to give in return. But if that is your goal and you're willing to do that, and it's cheaper than, let's say, a mortgage, which the bank has you by the balls with, then I think tokenization is a great alternative, which is way cheaper and more efficient.
It is. It's a good one, because I actually really like your answer. Because your answer wasn't no, they'll do it because they'll do it. It was, you have to make it financially viable for them if you want the renovations done.
Of course.
Which is which is
Let's be
which is
realistic.
fair, eh? It's obviously
No one is give you money for free, right? That's not
exactly.
how the world works. There will always be
Exactly.
something that another person needs to profit of, right? But if it's a win-win situation, then everybody's happy, right? It can still make sense.
Really interesting. Okay, so two more questions that I have.
Sure.
Uh, how do you protect investors, again, just to run through this again, from fraud or mismanagement? And my last question is, where do you see Estate X in 5 years?
Okay. So let me get on the fraud question first. So um, there are a couple of safety measures in the sense of the ownership storage, like we just said with the registrar. They create a token set, the ownership is actually stored. Obviously, before we offer something on the platform, we go through with the whole legal process. The transfer of ownership needs to be done. There needs to be an EstateX administrator in that new vehicle that is set up, so to make sure that we have some control and that everything is streamlined for our investors, etc., etc. In that case, we would also work. What we have, for example, with the holiday unit, is we chose that one as a flagship project because it's managed by TUI, right? So you have to guarantee that it's done by a very well respected holiday company that has that whole resort, that collects the rents, that makes sure everything is clean, that makes sure anything that's broken gets fixed, etc., etc. So we would work with highly professional management companies. TUI is one, for example, that we've now worked with. We would choose the most respectable developer. Obviously, the CEO of Remax has great relationships with very well respected developers he's worked with for over a decade. So obviously that's all very well done in the sense of personal relationships. Then the fraud part is excluded by the safety of the tokens being stored by a custodian, made by a registrar. So the ownership is actually there. We put in professional management companies in place to make sure everything gets fixed. Obviously, when we take on a property, there needs to be some sort of long-term contract, or there needs to be a manager that takes off the short-term rental, or the rental income is paid up front. So all of that is done with legal teams, professional relationships, our regulated partners to make sure everything is safe, and as is fully secure for our investors. Then to see on the where is the status in 5 years question. Yeah, so I think that the possibilities are endless with tokenization. If you look at now currently what Larry Fink is saying, the CEO of BlackRock, he's constantly talking about tokenization. Even the CEO of JP Morgan is constantly saying crypto's a scam, but tokenization is the future. And it's true. All research confirm all asset classes are going digitally eventually. I think that tokenization is at this moment is still at its infancy. So it's like the internet in the year 1998, right? It's that moment when everybody said, but why would you need a web shop if I can just go to a physical store? And we all know that 2 decades later, you know how silly that sounds, right? It's absolutely stupid. And I think that BlackRock is going to build out its tokenization fund. A lot of institutions are moving towards tokenization, which is a very positive sign. So I think that the next bull run, RWA, and especially tokenization will be the narrative that kicks off the next bull run. We're going to see institutions more and more moving towards this sector. So I think that as EstateX, truthfully, with the whole ecosystem that we have, because we're still in infancy, internet in the year 1998. We've just launched our first successful proof of concept. We have the biggest community in tokenized real estate with over 200,000 people, raised millions in minutes. I think that EstateX is going to grow into a unicorn purely because of the reasons that I mentioned, fully legally compliant. Our tokenization is the next big thing. And nobody has such an exclusive or inclusive ecosystem as EstateX, where it's not only investing, which a lot of projects have, but it's the instant cash outs, it's the selling part of an asset, it's the liquidity, it's paying with your real estate investments, making it so liquid, it's getting loans for leveraging to build out your property portfolio, it's the education. So I think that EstateX is going to grow into a unicorn, into a billion-dollar company, where we not only are including retail investors, but also institutions with a complete all-inclusive ecosystem, creating an app where you just can arrange everything around your finances within a couple of clicks in one app.
Sounds very interesting. Very, very interesting.
Thank you.
So, good luck.
Thank you.
And
Appreciate that.
and I will keep an eye out now for this more often, because I've been reading a lot about tokenization of everything, you know, and even this thing, tokenization of presidents is interesting. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? But what interests me a lot is tokenization of footballers, for example. Like you can have Cristiano Ronaldo come out and he can tokenize himself, and then you can make stuff off his contract. You know, so
Yeah.
I think all this stuff is personally coming,
Yeah.
and
No, I mean,
and I can definitely see it shaping, being the narrative, not shaping, being the narrative of, let's say, 2030 ish,
yeah.
2030, 2028.
I agree. And I mean, like I said, the possibilities are endless. You can literally tokenize anything, right? You could tokenize the table that my laptop is sitting on at the moment. You know what I mean? It's like it's not an asset that anyone would want, but the possibilities are there. And I think that things with like sports teams where fans can engage now within their actual sports team and profit off of that.
Is the
Actual like
next. It's the
yeah,
evolving nature of where we're
exactly.
going. That's what it
Yeah,
is. It's
football
the
stars,
evolving nature of
boosted
where we're going.
contracts,
Yeah.
revenues. You could
And
tokenize
that can
anything.
all go through EstateX as well.
Definitely, 100%. We have the audience, we have the legal framework, we have the tech. So we're definitely ready for expanding beyond real estate as well.
So I imagine you guys are working closely with a smart contract blockchain. I mean,
Yep.
Ethereum or
Yeah. So we're using we have used Ethereum for the last one. We are also potentially using Polygon. And obviously our new blockchain is upcoming. So we're launching a blockchain at the end of Q4. So we will then tokenize on our own blockchain.
and
Where
that will be
basically
called.
Yeah, that's gonna call the ESX blockchain. And on the ESX blockchain, we basically provide investors not only the opportunity to tokenize the real estate assets, but a complete platform to raise funds, legal framework to do offerings, white label software to set up new revenue streams for institutions. So we're creating a sort of like the Binance of tokenization, where on the one hand you have the chain, and the other hand you have the platform, legal framework, investors, white label technology, etc., etc.
Awesome, man. Nice to speak to you, and
Thank you,
nice
Andrew.
to hear about your project. And I wish you all the luck and the best.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And
Thank you for your time.
hopefully, maybe this time next year we'll jump on another call and see how many more went through.
Let's do that. Let's do that. I think that's a great idea. Andrew, appreciate your time. Thank you very much. Great questions and have a nice
Cool,
day.
man. Thank you,
Cheers.
guys.